there's a certain feeling whenever you walk into a room, regardless, when you're one of maybe 2 or 3 women in a room of 50 men. There's a certain feeling associated with that. And that doesn't mean that I don't like all of the men there. It just means that it's upsetting when out in the world we're 50-50, and then in certain powerful positions of wealth and influence, I have to like fight for my 3 people into the room, which I'm not doing anymore. I'm just gonna go create my own room. And then if you wanna join, you're gonna have to ask me.
Hello, friends. It's Amy Calandrino, and here we are with another episode of the Performance Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Calandrino, and after over a decade of advising some of the top entrepreneurs and business owners, I wanted to connect you to some of the leaders and impactful individuals I've met along the way. If you're wanting to grow, you are tuning into the right show. So today with me, I have, and I'm going to look at the bio to make sure I do not miss anything. I have on Sydney Phillips. She's actually a fellow Power Beacon, which we will get into later, but serial entrepreneur, inventor, and philanthropist on a mission to push humanity forward and live interestingly. She's an eccentric futurist and an amateur race car driver. She's gained recognition among the top 100 women of the future, top 25 women in the Metaverse, 25 most influential women in commercial real estate, top 100 U.S. business leaders and with people in real estate, and named 2020 Young Female Entrepreneur of the Year. In the words of Ron Burgundy, you're kind of a big deal.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be on here with you. I know we've connected through Power Beacons on and off, and of course at Beth Azor's conference. But this is my first time like sitting one-on-one with you, so this is wonderful.
This is wonderful. We've talked about making it happen. I guess it took like a podcast recording to make it happen. So
it takes work for workaholics to make time for each other. Yeah.
What stood out to me, like right off the bat, though, in your bio is talking about eccentric. I was talking to someone the other day, and I've decided to let my kookiness be more like out there. And in the words of one of my clients, he says, "Amy, you're crazy, but you're like the good crazy." And I love that you like put that out there. So, you know, like, let's kind of like start first and foremost, like, let's talk a little bit more about your background and all of that, and, you know, how you've gotten to kind of where you're at today.
Yeah, I'm a 24-year-old serial entrepreneur. So I started, I'll even go further than that. I'm a 3rd-generation entrepreneur. So my whole family is entrepreneurs. I didn't realize until I started going to holidays and dinners with boyfriends' parents that other people didn't talk about their revenue or profit at the dinner table. So that was kind of my rude awakening of like, oh no, other people don't talk about money. Like, not like your family. So I grew up around so much entrepreneurship that to me, it just came so naturally. And it was never even a question of if I would start a business, it was just how many. So that kind of sets the scene. I took over and ran the family business with my grandfather at the age of 14. And I've been running it ever since then. And then I've built numerous companies on my own as well. I've done everything from tech to financial companies. I did Daring Greatly, which was an investment vehicle to invest into women, LGBTQ, and minority-led startups. That company got me into the startup world, and then I got into tech and just became kind of like you said, the eccentric futurist. And I was like, this is where the world is headed, and I want to be one of the ones to create it. It's not enough to just live it and be one of the ones that adopt it to me. I just feel like this internal just passion and calling to be able to create all of these weird, kooky things that we'll look at in 50 years and be like, how did they not have this? Like we do with cell phones. So I'm very passionate about the tech. Of course, the commercial real estate is just like a family business, comes so naturally to me. And I really enjoy it, but I like the excitement of the tech. So I like to merge those two together.
That's just so interesting. And when we first started to get to know each other through the power beacons, your energy and like enthusiasm and everything like so contagious. And like I'm so excited that we're talking today.
Thank
I mean,
you.
for me, I think once you catch the entrepreneur bug,
Oh,
it's like hard not to then do that.
it's a disease.
My husband's parents were both entrepreneurs. And so then when he decided to go to law school and he graduated, he just decided he couldn't work for anyone
Yep.
else. And then like immediately upon graduating from law school, started his business, like to help smart businesses at his law firm. And then I worked for him, watching him transform the lives of these entrepreneurs because he had more of like a holistic kind of practice to kind of take them from startup to growth. And then that's what I modeled my commercial real estate firm, because I noticed that with small business owners, commercial real estate is such a tremendous tool for those families. And those that created the most wealth, it all had to do with commercial real estate.
You were totally right.
It's I would sit there at a business closing table, like passing papers, like as the paralegal. And those that really had done the most for their business had started to pay rent to themselves and then maybe even start portfolios. Like I just really started to notice. And I also noticed if you made the wrong commercial real estate decisions, how devastating that could also be to a family. And I just didn't feel like in my particular market at the time that there were advisors that really focused on that. And so I just love what you're doing. So 14 years. At 14 years old, you started working on pro formas, or what was like your first things? Were you out on showings, or
we were buying
everything?
I was going through the whole process of finding them, doing the due diligence of them, going through with inspectors. I remember there was one where my grandfather was like, I am caught up. I'm going to need you to meet the inspector and like go to the showroom. I think I was 15 at this time. And I had a car, and they were like, it was one of those like permits where you can only drive yourself. You can't drive other people. And the broker, we were meeting the broker there, and he was like, he called me and was like, hey, can we carpool? Can you pick me up real fast? And I go, actually, I only have a permit and I can't drive other people. So we're going to have to meet there. So I had to meet the broker at the site to go inspect the property. I mean, it was insane. I was involved in all of it. There's binders. We laugh because every time that we buy a property, we put together a binder. And it has, of course, the lease summary and the leases and all of the paperwork and any bank notes and whatever else. So we put together these binders, and probably a year or two ago, we were going through and, getting rid of old tax records more than, 7 years and whatever else. We were cleaning out the books, right? And we're going through, and I find a couple of binders that I had made when I was like 9 or 10. And all of them are like my hand, like literally my elementary school handwriting on the side of the binder that's like Phillips and Associates LLC. Like it was precious. It was precious. So I grew up in this family where, I was very involved in the business even before 14. So that's the only reason why I was able to pick it up. Then otherwise I don't think anybody would have been ready for that kind of responsibility. It was a lot.
What is interesting is on the way home from picking up my kids from daycare yesterday, I'm getting there's an area to the north of Orlando called Winter Park.
Yes.
So most people, if they come to Orlando, there's Park Avenue, and Winter Park is like amazing. And I'm really starting to catch some traction like in Winter Park. So we have a couple of my signs we go by on the way home, and I told my son, I'm like, we're about to have one more sign. There'll be 3 signs. He's like, well, I want 6 signs on the way home. And I'm like, what? And he's 3 years old. And I said, well, why don't you tell the world that mommy needs some more property? So I just posted on Instagram, and he said, get my mom some more properties. I want to see my mama's logo. And he's like 3. And then when we bought our buildings last year and we 1031, and so I was pregnant with my first baby when we bought our first building for like ourselves, for our family. So like I'm probably where your family was like 2 generations ago when your grandfather did it. So like I'm just starting to do this. And his parents, I think that's one of the things they regret as an entrepreneur is they didn't have the foresight to know to do that. But their families had just come to America.
Yeah.
So I think once you know that, I think part of my mission though is to make sure everybody knows that. Like when I work with these business owners, maybe it doesn't make sense for them to buy now, but at least educating them so they can work towards that. Because
Yeah.
I think your family has been able to grow probably exponentially because of having the security of that commercial real estate as like your foundation to kind of catapult into all the other things.
Well, and it's such a big industry that to me it opens yourself up to so many different opportunities, which I took in the route of tech. Like I was able to look at commercial real estate, be in this industry so young and see everything moving and all of these moving parts and go, that's inefficient, that's inefficient, that's inefficient. I think I can go build tech companies for that. And then I can use the money that I generate from the tech companies to go buy more commercial real estate.
Yeah.
Which was kind of my strategy all along. So I love all of the industries. To be honest, the tech is just so exciting to me. So I like to bring it into the real estate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, entrepreneurs, to even start your own business, most people, like when I talk about entrepreneurship and starting multiple companies and whatever else, there's always somebody in the room that wants to do that. And even
Yeah.
getting to a point where you do that is enough of a huge hurdle that then to go and have the foresight to be like, I need to acquire the commercial real estate property so that in 3 generations, my grandkids will have this X many properties and make this amount. I mean, that is an insane amount to expect from anyone, first of all. To even start a company, in my opinion, to be like the first generation of people that do that is, I mean, just incredible. I look at my grandfather and he's like my hero, you know?
Oh, I'm reading the new Arnold Schwarzenegger book called Be Useful. And you're just saying something that kind of hit me is that like then being able to visualize the impact that might happen.
Yeah.
But for me is I can see it, especially when I talk to people like you and other people that are part of that, receiving the benefit of being part of that generational wealth. I can see it. Actually, I can feel it. Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things Arnold talked about in his book is that he felt like what differentiated him is he could visualize himself winning.
Yep.
Like the Mr. Olympia. Like
yeah.
he would visualize him sitting behind the governor's desk. And like for me, I visualize that we will like amass a bigger portfolio, like slowly with time. Like I know whether it's corporate owned or franchise owned, like I want to have my brokerage grow bigger. And, you know, I know that my kids, if they want to go to college, that's great. But maybe, or they do it, but then they could go get a job, or perhaps there's a place in the family business. So like, I think for me, I can kind of visualize. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
But like, I think once you really start to set it in motion, that it becomes like natural and you got that confidence, and also not having the fear. I think that lines on the theme of my podcast is like having that like confidence and not being fearful too, if it doesn't work. You probably have had some business sets that you've had some lessons along the way, maybe.
Yeah, I've had plenty of failures. I
don't like to call them failures. I like to call them lessons.
Yeah, I call them failures because to everyone else they are, but to me, like those are actually the ones that I don't judge a company or an idea based on the outcome of it, because I'm at a point where to me, like, I'm just so grateful that the idea chose me. Like, I truly do feel like entrepreneurship, so much of it is like this idea or this company was going to exist whether it was me or not. Like, my ideas are not really that special, and that's incredibly humbling. But then it just feels so much more special when the idea chooses you and you're the like host that gets to bring this thing to life and like give birth to this idea. And then sometimes other people want to be a part of it. And it's a high. And like I always say, my favorite drug is an LLC. Like that is the only drug I'll ever do because it's so addicting. And yeah, I just think that's, it's magic. It's magic when it chooses you. I'm the creator too. Like I don't love the end of the process of the companies. Like, I love when it's the pure chaos in the beginning and you're like, who is this going to be for? What is the problem? What are we even going to build? Like, I love the uncertainty of the very beginning of a business. Like, the first year and a half of any startup is my favorite time. And it's the time where I flourish the most. Like, if I look in pictures, it's the time where I look the happiest and the healthiest, because everything in my life is so uncertain and I'm so excited about all of it. And when it becomes a machine is when I get bored and then I have to go start something else.
That's interesting.
But it's the creation of it that is just it's so beautiful. It just, every single one of them transforms me in a different way. I had one, I know we're talking about failures. I had one that was called Cool Kennel, and it was cool, like with a K and then kennel. And you put it inside of your car, and you could leave your dog inside of this little kennel in your car, and it would air condition them so that they wouldn't, die from a heat stroke inside of your car, and you could like leave them and go into the grocery store, whatever else. Well, then there was all kinds of regulatory problems, and I was like, I'm going to get sued if a dog dies in this. Like, what's going to happen? So then that one never happened. But I so enjoyed going to the 3D printing lab and like printing out the different parts and gluing them together and putting it into friends' cars and being like, does this work? I mean, there's just so much joy in that. And like the uncertainty and the creating of it all, even if it doesn't actually come to life, they help you see different parts of yourself, and they help you also understand what you're good at and what you're not. Like, I know for sure that I'm not a manufacturing girl. I could probably not do like a physical product unless I had another co-founder that could handle like the distribution, the manufacturing, like all of that. But the details involved in that, I am the visionary, the creator. Like, I'm like 85% good is good enough. And that doesn't exactly work with distribution. Like 85% good is good enough. Doesn't work to get it to point A to B. So I know my limits as well. Yeah.
I'm interested. How many domains do you own? Because I have to assume that you're like me, that you think of an idea and you're like, I got this name, and then get the name, and then you kind of marinate on it. I have like a couple domains. Some are 6 letters long.
Oh,
from many moons ago, I still haven't done anything with. Yeah, 2 different 3-letter names, believe it or not. I can't say because I still haven't done anything with this product, but told a couple close people like, Amy, that you just got to do that. It's actually dog related. But then like, I don't necessarily like form an LLC, like, but more so this is like an evening thing. And like, I hit it. I mean, I have a whole whiteboard over there that has like all like more ideas too. Yeah. Do you know how many domains you have?
I would guess total like in the 20s. Like, it's probably like 25 or 28. And I am someone that I do the domain and the LLC. So I'll just go ahead and pay the $110.
Oh, you do both of them at the same time?
Yep. Okay. I'll just go ahead and pay the $110. And then I have a rule that if I haven't done anything with it in a year, then it closes. And I don't count those as like companies that I've started. Those are just like, I had an idea, but it wasn't quite there yet.
Well, maybe I'm hard to like let it go. Like, I still have this one that I still think I might do something with it, like eventually, but
interesting.
I
have time limits, and I also have financial restraints on how much I'm willing to put into something before it makes me money. So I have a rule that I have to be able to make a minimum viable product and at least show somebody what I'm selling so that they can tell me if it's a good idea or a bad idea, with $5,000, and I have to be able to make some kind of dollar, and it's not break even, nothing, but I have to make some kind of profit after 10,000 or it's done. The idea's scrapped.
Oh, I wonder though too, is if you were someone like me and bought some really good domains and have a good idea, wonder if you could just sell the idea, even if it's not a business.
Yeah, you can. It's called.
I have a friend that did that. Like, she bought this company, Manchore.
Yeah.
She bought the domain, and then she thought up the whole idea, the whole business plan, and then she just sold it to someone because she decided she didn't have enough time to do it.
Yep.
Maybe I should do that.
Let me tell you, on acquire.com, you can do that. You can have the domain, you can create a little business plan, and then just say we have zero revenue, and you can sell it on acquire.com. It gets bought all the time. I
Are
actually
you kidding
searched. Yeah, I searched that site for good ideas. I'm like, oh, that one's cool. I think I could do that. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
I think you just look at that. I
Yeah.
learn something new every day. Acquire.
Acquire.com. Yeah. And they do big and small. So they do everything from like a, $1,000 acquisition to $5 million acquisition. They do big.
Yeah, but it might make sense to stop paying the registration fees,
Yeah.
move on, and because this would be like a product that I would have to put together and manufacture, and I'd have to bring in someone else, and
Yep.
blah blah blah. And I think my mind is just much more like commercial real estate, like
Yeah.
service. I did start a production company this year because I
Oh,
wanted to shoot a
nice.
TV show pilot
Nice.
about commercial real estate investing and entrepreneurship. So
Love it.
yeah, I'm excited. But let's circle around
Okay.
to the power beacons
Yes.
and then women entrepreneurship. I'll let you kind of like start out with what you would want to chat about first.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about women's entrepreneurship because I truly believe that when we have access to our own wealth, I think that so many women get into positions where, they're married, they might have kids, they get stuck into jobs and marriages that are unfulfilling, and can't leave. There's so many that can't leave, and there's so many that don't have the freedom to leave once they have children as well. And so, everybody, not that decision is a wrong decision, like to have kids or get married. That's a very normal decision. But I do think we need to have wealth on our own, and we need to have our own bank accounts to where we have access and freedom in a way that we have not been allowed to have for generations and decades. Um, my grandmother loves to tell me the story about how whenever she got married, she was not allowed to have a bank account. She literally couldn't have her own bank account. And she has drilled it into my head as young as I was, as far as I can remember, to always have your own money, your own bank account,
Yeah.
and make sure that you're good on your own and have your own means. And she talks to me all the time about, and this is not a long time ago. Like, I think that's what we don't realize, where I'm like, no, my living grandmother had this exact experience where she couldn't be anything other than a nurse, secretary, or teacher, and wasn't allowed to have a bank account in the 1950s. I mean, that is insane to me.
Yeah.
It's just wild. And so I think, first of all, we need to take advantage of the things that we have won and that we've got so that we don't lose them. And second of all, I would like to see women have more wealth and have more opportunities to be at the tables that we've been shut out of for so long. And
Yeah.
I think that my approach is a little different than, and not that this approach is wrong, but my approach is not to fight my way to their good old boys table. My approach is to build a new table and have it be so big and powerful that they ask to join ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not interested in like waiting to be asked if I want a seat. I'm just going to go build my own table.
Well, it's interesting. I have noticed that there are some women that say women entrepreneurship, but then I figured out that really they're not like a girl's girl. They are getting successful still by like supporting like the old regime and the good old boys and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of becomes like apparent that when things get tough, they're not really willing to stick their neck out fully and be fully a girl's girl. And I think that's kind of what differentiates the power beacons, and part of like what being part of the power beacons is be willing to stand up and be really, really, really a girl's girl,
Yeah.
not like secretly still in with the old guard. But I still think that there are some great guys. Like we have some allies out there like Eddie Gonzalez that have let like Dina Zimmerman and I like be on his channel talking about challenging issues that women deal with in entrepreneurship and commercial. So I think there are some, but those that are like secretly not like a girl's girl, and then you find out, then you're like, oh.
Yep. Oh, no, I totally get it. And I do think, to your point, I do think there are some men in this industry that have supported me and listened to me and like fed me deals and been really great champions. But there is there's a certain feeling whenever you walk into a room, regardless, when you're one of maybe 2 or 3 women in a room of 50 men. There's a certain
Yeah.
feeling associated with that. And that doesn't mean that I don't like all of the men there. It just means that it's upsetting when out in the world we're 50-50, and then in certain powerful positions of wealth and influence, I have to like fight for my 3 people into the room, which I'm not doing anymore. I'm just going to go create my own room. And then if you want to join, you're going to have to ask me.
You know what's so this weekend I have a set of dictionaries that it's like a 6-volume dictionary set, and they're all like animated and all kinds of stuff, and they're from like 1961, before JFK
Yeah.
passed
Oh my
away.
God.
And so it says, JFK is still still president, and so it says this year to like it's still open. He's still. So we were going through, and I grabbed the one that was like CH to FI or whatever, and we were going through different words, and I'm showing them. There was conference was defined, and it had a picture, and it was a bunch of white guys sitting around the table, and I wish I had this right now to go like, oh. And I was like, and it says like when a lot of people, and they might as well say old white guys, get together to talk about like ideas.
Yeah.
And it was just so, I have to do a Beyond Your Space Needs or like video blog about it and show this picture, because it was like, we would kill our mojo if I went to go get it like right now. So it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll just save it for another piece of content. But it was just like, I brought it to my husband, and he's like, oh my gosh. And so, thinking about champions though, too, is like his dad was in business for himself. And then his mom, when my husband was 7, decided she wanted to buy her first franchise.
Love
and
it.
Eventually she didn't buy franchises anymore, but he was always so supportive of him. And like, so we have to give like props to like the champions that like don't try to like push you down and let you do. Cause like, if not for her, when I first started dating my husband and stuff, I would spend like the Saturdays in her flower shop, and she would teach me all about cost of goods and like all these things about like being like a businesswoman. But
I love that. Oh, that's so sweet. That's the kind of mentorship that I just feel like, I feel like the pandemic actually kind of took some of that mentorship away from us, because we weren't able to see people in person as much to like make those connections and say, okay, I bought this building for X amount of money. This is how much I'm making off of it. This is how much my debt costs. We didn't get the opportunity to do that, which was why Beth's conference was so important to me, to go there to speak about my experience. And it's also why the power beacons are so important to me, so that we have some kind of level of transparency of like, here's what's going on. Here's how we're all building. And by the way, everybody's building differently. Take the best of what you like from every person and then mix it into your own bowl. I think that's one of the things that I say all the time. I've brought on a lot of like college graduate or college level interns, and I do like this mentorship program. So I'll mentor them for 3 months, and we'll talk about like pay negotiation, like salaries, how much you should be paid, how to find like right leaders. So like if the leader is leaving to go pick up their kids every day, that's going to be a great culture fit, because they're going to actually leave the office. So I tell them all the time, I'm like, actually, it's not a super great idea to work for a 20-year-old like startup founder, because we have to prove ourselves, and we're going to work constantly. So if you want great work-life balance and don't want to like work crazy hours, work for like a 40 or 50-year-old, because they have more balance and they've kind of figured out their structure more. Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's like but I've gotten to do all of this this mentoring, and honestly, every time that I do one, they're like, you have no idea how hard it was for me to find a mentor. Like, you have no idea how hard it is to find somebody that will take me in, teach me a little bit, because now we all like work on our homes or work from home, and then we don't really go out and except to see the people that we already know, which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I've been kind of getting involved with that Kendra Scott Women's Entrepreneurship Institute here in Texas.
Oh.
Yeah, it's through UT, University of Texas and Austin. And they've got a wonderful Women's Entrepreneurship Institute here. And so I've been bringing in some of those girls and teaching them pay negotiation, like how to put together pro forma, things like that. And it's been pretty game changing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, I didn't even know that that existed. I know, like, Kendra Scott has a lot of different like locations throughout the U.S. and everything, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that she had given like back, and that's I think the big thing too. I find that the most successful entrepreneurs that get the
Mm-hmm.
most traction, it really is, as the Lee Becker who lives in Austin as well,
Mm-hmm.
like you, is like givers get, and like
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's a balance too, because like
Yeah.
obviously, like I've learned that I have like 5 F's. I used to say it's 3 F's. It used to be
Yeah.
faith, family, fitness. Now it's faith, family, fitness, finance, and focus.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting. I like the addition. Finance and focus. I like it.
well, I had a really good friend. He's like, Amy, you're just always like, because I have so much like energy, and
Yeah.
like, he's like, Amy, when you focus, you're dangerous. And I'm like,
Yes.
you're right. So actually, I made myself a bracelet that says Focus Ninja.
I love it.
So I wear a Focus Ninja, and I'm like, I gotta
Oh
focus.
my gosh, I love it. I have little bracelets that are not on today, but mine are push humanity forward and live interestingly. And I wear them literally every day. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
What? Oh, I
Uh-huh.
think that's awesome. Oh. There were a couple other like thoughts of what we've already covered so far too. Is like you were talking about your grandmother, and on one of my previous podcast guests was Leslie Heimer, and her grandmother was one of the first mortgage bankers ever. Oh no, was the first mortgage banker in Orlando. Grandmother,
Oh,
first mortgage banker. And
oh,
now, like, Leslie Heimer's mom and her grandma were like in mortgages, and now Leslie's in mortgages. And like, not only like, you sometimes meet these mortgage people and they're just like, they don't really know what like they're selling.
yeah,
But oh, and they should have that in commercial real estate too.
yeah. I was like, that's also a lot of
Yeah.
brokers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of brokers. Not me. Leslie and I, we were really geeking out on my podcast when I had it. But I thought it was interesting. She talked about her grandmother, how men could go into the bank and sign their wives to the
Yep.
mortgages.
Yep.
Did you know that?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Oh, the financial power that women have had in the last like 3 to 4 decades is insurmountable. To like, we can't even imagine what our grandmothers had to face financially. And it's not that long ago. They're still living. Yeah, it's not that long ago. Just happened.
That's
Mm-hmm.
oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna make sure my show notes lady like puts in Beth Azor's conference, and so that's
Yes.
BETHAZOR.
Yeah.
And if you look her up, she has her women's conference, so we should make sure to put a link of that into the show notes so we can support them. But yeah, I think it is really interesting. Oh, and we were talking about women having their own bank account and having their own autonomy. One of the books I read was like, I Know How She Does It. And it
Oh,
talks about when a woman crosses the path to being, married with children and, all those different things, of how to still maintain your own like autonomy and find one of the systems I deploy from that book is called like a split schedule.
yep.
And like learning how to then pick up my kids and have this split schedule and still like track my time and keep track of my
Mm-hmm.
priorities. But one of the reasons they said too is like why you want to maintain that autonomy is not just because there's a potential of getting divorced. Like
Yeah.
statistically, it's like 50%, right?
Right. Yeah.
But beyond that too, like anything could happen to your spouse. Is
Yeah.
like, there could be potential like illness or whatever. And what I found is that, if you don't keep that momentum going in your career, even if it's like a part-time side hustle,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that you could like expand upon, you're just starting back over from like
Yeah.
square one. And
Well,
that's a scary spot to be in as a woman.
Well, and even further than that, like I know we're speaking about it from the woman's perspective, but also from a man's perspective, I don't think that it would be super fulfilling to be the one that has to make all the money and then she has to take care of all the kids. That's still like you would kind of feel a little used. Like I don't think that this traditional arrangement works for anybody. I don't think the arrangement of the man goes and makes the money and the woman takes care of the house, what happens if he passes away? What happens if she can't balance a checkbook? Like she doesn't have the autonomy of her money. We know that side. But then also like why does he not get to have any fun? Why does he not like have why does he not get to like be around the kids? Like, don't you think he's probably going to regret that whenever he's older, and like, what if
Right.
one of the children pass away? Like, I think he's going to regret not being there and being around for dinner and to play ball and whatever else, right? So I don't think that the arrangement works for anybody. I think it's what I'm saying is it's better for everyone when everyone has their own autonomy of their life and their money. And then you decide to either commingle and be together and live together or not.
Yeah. Well, me and my husband, we've decided for ourselves, we're much like his parents, where we really have like a partnership, and we call it kind of basically Calandrino Inc. And we have like our holding company for our commercial real estate. He has his law firm. I have my commercial real estate firm. Yeah. We will soon, and you're going to talk about your foundation, but we'll have a foundation about democratizing the wealth gap and helping to spur investment and entrepreneurship, like in our community, Orlando, like in beyond. But we view it kind of like as a partnership. I do manage like all of the money, and but I show him where we're at and how we're doing, and then how I work it is like, yes, I do a lot of deals. I do a lot of third party work. Your family business probably does all just for yourselves.
Yep.
Or do you guys do third party too?
No, just us.
Just yourself. Yeah. I do a ton of third party work. And so I'm like 3 to 4 dozen deals a year. But like somehow, despite that, like I put all my most important appointments on my schedule between 10 and 2.
Oh, I love
because
that.
anything can happen with my kids. Yep. And I don't really want to worry about trying to cover a whole day of appointments if something happens with them. And so I want to have the flexibility. Now, as I get like a couple days out and something pops up, I will always have the opportunity to plug in like a 9 or a 3.
Yep.
And that's why sometimes it takes like a long time to get on my schedule, because until it's like game day or like 24 hours away and everything's good, I will never add like a 9 or a 3 on there. And I don't ever really do anything after like a 3 o'clock because I want to leave myself flexibility to go pick my kids. But I get it all done between 10 and 3, and then it 10 and 2. And then it makes sure that I'm only prioritizing what's most important.
This is exactly why women in their 40s and 50s are better to work for if you want balance. This is exactly why. This is exactly like point blank. This is like picture Amy in I have a similar thing, except I don't take meetings before noon because morning is my best time. So I'm a 6 a.m.er. I'm a morning person. So I'm a 6 a.m.er. That's my exercise time from like 6 to 7. And then from 7 to 12, I love that I don't answer any phone calls. Like nobody call me, nobody talk to me. That is my like deep thought time. And then from noon to like 4 is when I'm like normally accessible.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
My assistant can't wait until it's 10 because actually I'm like the opposite. We have like an 8:30 a.m. call like every morning to kind of go over everything and for me to like pass the baton and then her talk back to me about what she needs. But then usually that will spur other things. So we'll be like on and off the phone in between like things until about 10. And then she'll have peace and quiet to get all her work done.
Yep. See, I'm a morning person, and then in the afternoon, my deep focus kind of goes away, and then I can have more of like the meetings and the conversations and whatever else.
Yeah.
And then I normally will like make a little list, and I'm ready for my deep concentration the next day. That's kind of how I like to set it up. Yeah, but I think that
everybody's different. You have to go with your flow.
Yes, I think that building these systems is what is so magic about it, right? Like if you have a company even building a system like this where you're like, okay, my best time is morning, so I should block that out for me, and then I should give everyone else my 12 to 4. And that just makes so much more sense to me, where somebody else is probably like, do not talk to me in the morning. Someone else is probably like, oh, only talk to me in the morning. And then after like 2, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And I usually will try it. I work out at like 3. It's just too much. My kids are erratic on when they wake up. And so I tried the whole getting to the gym at like 5:30 thing.
Do you have little ones?
And then by the time I'd get home, a 2 and a 3-year-old.
Oh, you have little ones, Amy. Oh my gosh. And back to back like that? Woo.
They're like, well, one's about to be 4 and one's 2.5. They're like 15 months apart.
Oh my
So like
gosh.
my son was like 9 months old when I got pregnant with number two.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, I can't even imagine the amount of chaos going on in your house. Yeah, no.
No, we have systems. I have systems.
I applaud you.
So
That is some
I mean, it is
serious
chaotic a
stress
little
management.
bit, but we sleep trained our kids. I mean, they're pretty much in bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock every night. And then they are good until like about 6:30 every morning. But it happened to be like every time I'd go to the gym, like if I tried to go in the morning, that would be the one morning they decided to get up at 6. So then I finally was just like, I'm not even going to like bother. And then instead I'll work out at like 3 and then go get them at like 5.
Of course. It's always the morning that you're like, and today is the day I'm going to do something for myself. And it's like, nope, you thought wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mother is very excited that all of us are grown. And we're all like in our teenage years or in our 20s. On my mom's side. She's very excited that we're all grown. She's like, please. Yeah. Little ones.
How many siblings do you have?
So I'm an only child on my dad's side of the family, which is where like all of the family business kind of comes from.
Yeah.
And then I'm the oldest of 6 half and step siblings on my mother's side. So I have big family on this side, and then I have like barely any family on this side.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love kids. Worlds. I love kids. I take sometimes my friends' kids. I've had like as many as 4 kids in my house. I love being like Auntie Amy. Like I don't know what it is. It doesn't chill me out. What's that?
You're also like a big kid though. So that totally makes sense to me because you're like, yes, let's play. That makes sense to me.
Let's go to the science center. Let's go to like Universal. Let's go like run around. Yeah, I guess maybe that does make sense.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that way. Like I'm responsible, but I also like to have a lot of fun.
Yes.
So, because what is life? Life's for living. So
yeah, like the Dolly Parton song. You better get to living.
Oh, that's a good one for this afternoon.
That's what on repeat.
That's what we're going to listen to this afternoon. So women entrepreneurship, you told me a little bit before we started recording today, you're thinking about having like a foundation. Are you in the process? Have you launched it or
in the
where's
process,
that at?
Not launched. No mission statement is decided. So I don't want to say too much too soon, but it is absolutely something that I feel called to be in. It feels something that is so natural. I feel like I've just been doing it without a foundation for years. And so I might as well go create an actual structure so that I can do this on a bigger scale. So I think that's going to be my big project for 2024. And I'm starting to like talk to lawyers about it and get everything set up. But that's going to be my big project for 2024 on my year without my first year without Zook.
Oh yeah. So let's I can't believe how long we've been chatting already. So let's talk a little bit about Zook and then I think we actually have to land the plane.
Okay.
So
deal.
Yeah. And then we might have to just do a part 2.
Deal.
I didn't we like
I know.
We got excited.
Between you and I, our energies just match too well and we're like yeah.
We're both in our power hours right now.
Yes.
Like, I guess it's 12 to 4.
You're right.
And for me, I'm in that 10 to 2 block. So I think that's also part of it. Magic. So tell us about your journey of Zook that you recently sold.
Yeah. So Zook was a virtual reality platform for the real estate and aerospace industry. We started out in real estate, obviously me having this background in commercial real estate. I just knew so much about it. I knew so many connections and I was able to take that to market faster. So I went real estate first and then I've always been interested in space. So I got involved in the Mars Society, which is a whole group focused on humans becoming a multiplanetary species. And so I got involved, like I said, eccentric. I will totally own that. Got involved in the Mars Society, saw some of their, technology institutes and some of their desert research facilities. And I was like, I am in. What can we do? How can we partner? How can we work together? So we used virtual reality to plan habitats in the same way that you do for commercial real estate. We planned real estate for Mars. And we're able to test all kinds of different theories about which habitats will actually stay in the Mars winds, what will survive the Mars winters, and what have you, which was very, it was the most fun project I've ever been a part of, just because it's so out there. And yeah, and I got to meet so many amazing engineers and just people that are really, in
I
my
think you
mind, people
froze.
that are really just building the future.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, I've never thought anything was impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read, I was a big, big, big reader when I was like younger.
Me too.
I think my parents didn't have cable TV for us and didn't really so I just consumed books. And so, yeah, I think there could be potentially I know in our lifetime there's going to be a person on Mars. Like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
young enough that there will be, and certainly in my children's lifetime. And my son actually wants to be an astronaut. Like,
Love it.
he's super into it. So, and knows all his planets and dwarf planets and stars and like all these different things. And so I think that's really amazing. Like, were you into like math and science a lot? Like
Oh,
as a child?
I was a nerd. I was the novice debate champion. Like literally I was on high school debate team, student class vice president, and yeah, I was a total nerd. I was in every AP class that they would let me take. I loved school.
Yep.
And I loved math. Math made a lot of sense to me, other than geometry. That one didn't click for me. The shapes just
Mm.
didn't make sense to me. But numbers made a lot of sense to me. And science, there's something about space that just makes me, it's like it's the humbling, I think. It makes me feel so small that it's like nothing matters. Like, just write it into the
Mm.
abyss, you know? There's something about it where it's like, well, we're all gonna die and just become like this black matter and the abyss, and I'd rather just like ride this thing as hard as I can and use this body in so many different ways I can.
Were you in chess club too?
No, I've never done chess club, actually.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I
Like,
know.
yeah, like
Just
totally.
debate.
When I was in second grade, we had this was when wasn't it Fisher or something? There was the guy in like the 1990s that was huge. So it might be before I'm almost 40. Actually, I'm 39. So but this was like back in the 90s, there was a whole chess craze. And then again in middle school, I was in like chess club. But I think chess is interesting because you're always trying to kind of look a few plays like ahead, and it
Yeah.
requires a lot of like strat. One thing I want to eventually learn. Have you heard of bridge?
No.
Oh, so it is something women used to play like all the time back
Oh.
when they were like stay at home, and it involves a lot of strategy. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett play a lot of bridge.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
See,
I've always wanted to do it.
I would love to be into things like that. My problem is I am also very active. And so the
Yeah.
idea of having to sit down for more than an hour and not be able to move and have to focus, like sitting down, is problematic for me.
It is about that makes sense. Yeah, I think that about an hour is like my limit
max.
usually. So yeah,
I get pulled into playing Monopoly games with some of my friends' kids, and I'm like, after an hour, Aunt Sydney's got to tap out. I need a sub. Yeah. Because after an hour, I can't keep passing go.
Yeah. It takes a lot for me to like stay focused. I'm writing a book right now about my journey, and like I did write a lot about like the fact that for me, you were talking about school was something you really enjoyed. For me, school was like an escape.
Oh.
And like as I like it was like a good like escape, and I'd throw myself like into learning all these things. I was never really popular.
Oh, yeah.
I was always a little like on the periphery of all these different groups. People liked me, but a lot of people were like, who is this person? You're just a little different. Like I always felt like I was a little bit of an odd duck.
Oh,
Now I think when you get older, you embrace it. Or I think for you, maybe you just never really worried about it.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't care. I've always been the black sheep, and I've always been kind of proud that I was. I like my eccentricities, and I like what they do to my brain, because I know that I can think in different ways and I see things a little differently. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly there's not a lot of people that can say like that they see things that are similar. So when I find someone like that has the same kind of energy, or like is like, oh no, I'm like here to create and these are all the things that I created, I really appreciate the artistry of business
Mm-hmm.
and of, well, their art. Like to me, business is an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can like, I see it with a different appreciation, I think, rather than just like, how much money did you make? Like to me, it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these systems you built. Look at all these people that want to be part of your thing. Like to me, that's just so much more impressive.
I think I've noticed, I've worked with so well over 100 businesses now,
Yeah.
maybe over 200 now, just in my practice. And I found that those that are like creative visionaries and that are organized or at least quasi organized or have someone who's like their zookeeper,
Yep.
like they are like by far like the
The
most,
magic.
it's the most magic. Otherwise, you're just like one of those operators that you
Yep.
have like one business. You don't ever really want to go beyond that. But like I find that I gel the most with my clients that are like that can see like what I mean. Just even I met with a doggy daycare this week, and like she's like, oh my gosh, and I found someone that's going to be able to like support me because like after you help me buy this location, like I do eventually want to have multiple of these locations. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes,
Amazing.
this is what I like love.
Yes.
And she never felt like confident that she could execute that plan because she didn't have the right like partner like beside her.
See, that's the
So
other thing. I think it's delusional confidence. Like maybe that's why I'm not like ashamed. I've never been ashamed of like being the odd duck, is because I just have delusional confidence that I'm doing it the right way for me. I'm not really
yeah,
concerned about what the right way is for other people because I know that it's different than me.
yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they're doing their right way, but like, yeah, I've just always had this level of delusional confidence. Like I'm correct because this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, yeah, and she knew that that's what she wants to do.
Yeah.
But she had just had commercial partners before in the past that like didn't like had her lease the first space that they found,
Got
didn't
you.
do the right due diligence and do all these different things, and she doesn't come from a commercial real estate background. So then like having someone who then bring that to the table was like so like appreciative. But well, this has been great.
Yes.
Do you have any other thoughts you want to share before we wrap this up?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because I don't know.
We will have to do
if
a
we can
part 2.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll have me longer than this. I know you have a busy schedule.
I can't. I am going out. Oh, I can't even talk about this. But I started with one company was supposed to take some of this flex industrial space out in a city near us, and he brought together 2 other companies that are so tech heavy and like futuristic and stuff, and they're going to have this whole collaboration and take down probably like 30,000 square feet like together.
Beautiful.
I'm showing them. I gotta go out to, there's a place called Claremont
I know where that
Lake
is.
County next to me. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm gonna be going up and down the hills out to Claremont. And let me tell you about vacancy rates out in Claremont and West Orange County. They are like almost like 0% when it comes to industrial. So
interesting.
So we're checking out the space, and I've been working on this for like several months, and so hopefully this will all come to. We're finishing up like the fit plan. We already have proposals out, but hopefully we can put the finishing touches on it. Yeah, one company does. I won't say too much because they're very unique, and it would immediately give away who they are.
Yeah, you don't have to.
But like I can't wait. I like when it comes to fruition because it's kind of cool when you. Yeah. Yes. And the one company that started this whole thing, he already has like 4 locations for his business.
No,
and then he brought in these other people, and they're all in like the same industry. So they'll have this collaboration kind of together, I hope. So yeah. So, but yeah, we'll have a part 2. Like, we will make a note of that. And then hopefully we can connect. Otherwise, I have never been to Austin. I have to fix that.
Yes. Yes. If you want to come to Austin, you are always welcome here. But I will probably be in Orlando as well. So we need to figure out like when the power beacons are all getting together.
Yeah, we'll help Marissa and figure that out.
Yeah,
so
sounds good.
All right. Well, Thank you to everyone who's listened to this most recent Performance Mindset episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, download, share all the different things. And if you know of any guests that you feel like would be a great guest, send them to us. And this is Amy Calandrino signing off.